Hi again, everyone. It's Miss Scarborough here. So, I wanted to thank you for going through that semantic map, and I hope you found out more about what you know about a sonnet. I'm sure that you've heard the word, you might not know exactly what the definition is, but that's okay because sometimes when it comes to poetry, there's this stigma around it that it's super complicated or you have to worry about all these different elements. But hopefully, after today, your question, dude, what's a sonnet? It'll be answered and you'll be able to fully explain exactly what a sonnet is. All right, let's get started. So, first of all, I wanted to start out with this silly little joke. So, it's a picture of William Shakespeare, who I'm sure you guys have heard of. Maybe you've heard of him along with the word sonnet, and we'll get more into that in the next slide. But that's William Shakespeare, and she's telling him, just tell them 2 quarts of milk and a pint of cream, Will. It doesn't have to be a sonnet. So she's like, hurry up and make that list. Hurry up and make that grocery list. It doesn't have to take all day because sonnets can be difficult to write just because there are certain rules that you have to qualify as a sonnet. And we're going to get into those now. Okay, so in order to be a sonnet, a poem has to have 2 characteristics. So, one of the things I'm sure you guys already knew was that a sonnet is a type of poem. Okay, so if I give you a poem, there are 2 characteristics that you need to know about. And one of those is that all sonnets have 14 lines. So, let's start with that guy, William Shakespeare, we talked about in the previous slide. So he has a famous sonnet. It's called Sonnet 18 that most of you might be familiar with. And it's known as Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? So if you count the lines, let's just go ahead and count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it has 14 lines. So right off the bat, let's say I give you a poem and I ask, is this a sonnet? The first thing you should do is count the lines and see if there is 14. Okay, and the next characteristic of a sonnet is that all sonnets have the same meter. Okay, so that means iambic pentameter. So, we're going to get more into what iambic pentameter means. But the bottom line for this is that there are 10 syllables in each line. So let's just take the first line of William Shakespeare's Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? We'll count the syllables. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That's 10 syllables. Okay? So the 2 things you should do whenever I ask you, is this a sonnet? The first thing you should do is count the lines. Are there 14 lines? The second thing you should do is you should count the syllables in each line. And if there are 10 syllables in each line, it's a sonnet. So next we're going to get into exactly what iambic pentameter means. Okay, so with iambic pentameter, I feel like the best way to explain this is to break down the word iambic pentameter, okay? So let's start with pentameter, and you think to yourself, what does the penta mean? The first 2 syllables, penta, and that means 5. A lot of us know that, okay? So that means that pentameter means that there are 5 feet in a line. So each line of the sonnet has 10 syllables. Okay? And when I say feet, what I mean by a foot, there are 2 syllables in a foot, okay? So if there are 5 feet in a line, that means there are 10 syllables. Now, I know y'all think this is English class, and oh, geez, we've got to go and do some math here, Miss Scarborough, but I promise it's simple math, okay? So if there are 5 feet in a line, and each foot is 2 syllables, how many syllables are there? 10, which is what we said is the second requirement you should check and see if a sonnet has. Is there 10 syllables in each line? Okay, so are there 5 feet in a line and is there 10 syllables? That covers pentameter. Okay, then we move to iambic. Okay, so that is the stress pattern of the line, okay? So we're talking about rhythm here. Now, I know that rhythm can be a little difficult to understand, and I will admit to you that it takes a while to wrap your head around it. But the best way to remember iambic pentameter is the stress pattern is unstressed, stressed, okay? So let's just start with these lines. And I have broken it down for you in da-das, just because I feel like that might be an easier way to explain it. Now, when you talk about iambic pentameter, it's supposed to be the way we naturally speak. So when you say, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" that would be a natural way that we might say it, and the rhythm just emphasizes that. So it goes like this. "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" So we end on that. So remember, it always starts with an unstressed. So we'll start here. Da 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 da. Okay, and that's that third bullet that I just read. So it starts with unstressed. So when I say stressed, it's longer. Can you guys hear that? Da 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 da. Okay, so I'm holding it out. I'm emphasizing it more when it's stressed. Unstressed is a little less emphasis and it goes quicker. So let's try it with the first line, like I've said before. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Okay, do you hear the unstressed, stressed? And remember, the beginning of the line always starts unstressed and it will always end on a stress. Okay, so let's try the second line. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Okay? And I know it sounds kind of funny, but if you said it quickly, it flows more the way it would in conversation. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. So you can still hear the rhythms, but here I'm really emphasizing them so you can understand that it begins with an unstressed and it ends with the stressed. Again, thou art more lovely and more temperate. Okay, and it keeps the same meter. Da 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 da. Okay, the beat is always on that stressed. Does that make sense, guys? I know it might be a little difficult, but I think if you can remember iambic pentameter as a meter, and if you can remember that there are 5 feet in a line, and each line has 10 syllables, okay? That's what we need to really focus on here. Okay, so the type of sonnet. Now, we've already discovered that there are different types of poetry, and one of those types is a sonnet. Now, there are different types of sonnet, and I just want to briefly introduce this to you. We're not going to go into this today, but it is something you're going to need to know, okay? So I don't think you should fully worry about this, but I'm going to do a quick review of rhyme scheme, okay? Because that's what depends the type of sonnet. So depending on the rhyme scheme, there are 3 different types of sonnets. So let's just go ahead and review rhyme scheme. So let's look at this Dr. Seuss, good old Dr. Seuss. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like them in a boat. I do not like them with the goat. I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. Okay? So we're just going to go through the alphabet when we're labeling rhyme scheme, okay? So the first line we're going to start as A. It's always A, the first line, okay? We go to the second line. The last word in the second line is am. Now, am rhymes with ham, so that's going to as well be recorded as an A, okay? Now, this should be a review because we've gone over this, guys. Now, the third line, boat. Okay, well, boat doesn't rhyme with am, so that means it's not going to rhyme with ham. So we're going to put a B there. Then we go to the fourth line. Then we have goat. Now, goat rhymes with boat, so that's going to be a B as well. Okay, you guys see the pattern here? And then we have house. Now, house, it doesn't rhyme with goat, and it doesn't rhyme with am, so we're going to label it with the next letter in the alphabet, which is C. Okay? And then the last line, mouse, does rhyme with house, so it's C as well. And it would keep going. If the next word was car, that doesn't rhyme with any of them, so we would go on to D. I hope that makes sense to you guys. And just as a heads up, these are what you call rhyming couplets because there's 2 of them. And They are a pattern of rhyming couplets, okay? So we have A, A, B, B, C, C. And a lot of sonnets do end in a closing couplet, two lines that solve the puzzle of what's going on throughout the sonnet. And we'll talk more about the different aspects of when the tone changes, when the problem is solved in class tomorrow. But today I just want to really make sure you get down the structure. So, like I said, you're going to go through and label rhyme schemes of different types of sonnets eventually, and based on that, you'll be able to group it into the three main types, which is Petrarchan, Shakespearean, and Spenserian. But let's not worry too much about that now. Like I said, I just wanted to give y'all a brief review. Okay, guys, so now that we've gone over all of the starting components of a sonnet, I want you guys to go back into the blend space and take the review quiz. So it should tell you which ones you get right and which ones you get wrong. And I urge you, if you get one wrong, to go back and try a different answer and see if you can get it right. Thank y'all so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in class.